one of the main missions of the program is to teach good citizenship to the youth of Laredo, to inspire them to act like that and be like that and give back to their community. And being confident in myself in doing that.
In a federal courtroom.
In a federal courtroom,
Yeah.
surrounded by federal defense attorneys, federal judges. Experiences like that are included into the curriculum just really prepared me for what was coming up.
If given the opportunity to be part of the Kazen Fellowship, that I would excel, that I would try my hardest. But it's so worthwhile, the experiences you do and the experiences that the Kazen Fellowship provides you. Feeling the rejection of a no and facing that fear is so much better when you realize the possibility of getting a yes and experiencing those things. I realized that if I want to make change, real change, I need to be a lawmaker, that I need to be involved in government.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to the podcast, On the Border with George Altgeld. This week's interviews are with two Kazen Fellowship Program attendees. We have Miss Odette Koss, and we also have Miss Isabela Mancias. And these two young ladies, exceptional young ladies from Laredo that participated in the program, finished the program, and now have been accepted to these phenomenal Ivy League schools. We got one going to Columbia. It looks like maybe one going to Notre Dame, maybe Williams. We don't know. But I wanted to tell you all a little bit about the program, and you'll hear from both Miss Koss and Miss Mancias themselves about an opportunity that, frankly, growing up as a kid, I would have loved to have had. And we've got it here in Laredo at the federal courthouse this summer. It's a 5-week-long program, and 24 select students are going to be chosen to participate in the program. And so there's a link in the description. Parents, students, teachers, if you know someone who you think has got true grit, have them apply for the program. Now, this program, it's all done with volunteers. You've got, for those of you that don't know, we have this phenomenal set of federal judges in Laredo, principally Federal District Judge Diana Saldana, and as well as Federal Magistrate Judge Diana Song, these amazing ladies that, in spite all these odds, went and jumped through just extreme hardships in their youth, UT Law, Harvard Law, respectively, and came to Laredo to make a difference, and outside of their already very busy schedules, created this Kazen Fellowship Program named after the late and very accomplished jurist, Judge George P. Kazen, who presided in Laredo for years, basically gave the entirety of his adult life to the bench and presiding in cases here in Laredo, and inspired a generation of lawyers behind him to strive and give back. And so this program, it very separate and apart from what goes on at the federal courthouse, has a small group of champions. And there's Amber Holmes, former president of the local bar association, myself, also former president of the local bar association, Yushin Del Rio, Patty Figueroa. We've got just a great group of individuals, my wife, Rosie Altgeld. We host and put on Noche de Agave. And Noche de Agave is a very fun-filled evening where we have food, live music, ballet folklorico, mariachis, and we have tequila tasting where we sample some of the finer tequilas that are on offer. The Falcon National Bank has agreed to let us use their ballroom, and this event is going to be held there on March 29th. And the way we raise money for the fellowship is through this Noche de Agave, and we can't do it without your help. And so we are selling tables. It's a very intimate setting, very secure setting, and we've got the magic ingredients, a wonderful place. We've got great people, great food, great music, and libations. And so when you add those ingredients together for a great cause, there's a party with good karma. And to underscore the hard work that we do in putting on this event, and frankly, the even exponentially harder work that the local judges and lawyers do in putting on the 5-week fellowship program, we wanted you to hear it straight from Miss Odette Koss and Miss Isabela Mancias. So stay tuned to hear their stories and to learn what makes them tick and how this program has been the difference between not only getting accepted to these schools, but getting accepted to Columbia on a full ride, getting accepted to Notre Dame with major scholarship involvement, all of this magic. And they're just 2 of the 50 plus students that have graduated. None of this would be possible without the vision of Judge Saldana and the right hand of Judge Diana Song. So stay tuned. So today we're very happy to have Miss Isabela Mancia in studio. Thank you for joining us. You are a Kazen Fellow. You went through the Kazen Fellowship Program at the federal courthouse. Yes. Was that this past summer?
Yes, this past summer. I am part of the Kazen Fellows from the 2024 cohort. There was a cohort before that, the initial cohort in 2023. I was part of the second version.
Cool. And what was your experience like?
Well, I have told many people after graduating from the program that it is definitely one of the most amazing things that I've gotten the opportunity to do here in Laredo. It was something that I applied to, hopeful to get in. If you look up the Kazen Fellowship on Google, you're going to find a lot of news. You're going to find the website and the application. And from the outside perspective, it just looks so competitive and so interesting. I didn't know about it until my principal, Mayra Peña from Stacks Academy. She called me to her office, me and a few other people from the academy, and she told us about this opportunity to intern at the federal courthouse with federal judges and district attorneys and the federal attorneys and prosecutors and defense attorneys, and for a whole month. And the concept just sounded so interesting to me, and I was very curious. About it. I wanted to learn about the law environment, but something in their website and something that I learned when I was in the fellowship is that it's not only directed towards those that have a particular interest in law. One of the main missions of the program is to teach good citizenship to the youth of Laredo and to inspire them to act like that and be like that and get back to their community, right?
What does that mean to be a good citizen?
Well, according to what we learned in the Kazen Fellowship, of course, we learned about policy and civil participation in politics and that aspect that has to do with the law, right? But it focused more, and the definition that I got to be a good citizenship is always having in mind your community and having in mind where you come from. For example, here in Laredo. Over the program, we had so many people. I think we had yourself, Mr. Alget, go in and spend hours with us, spend their time, their resources, their effort into teaching us, into mentoring us, into just letting us know that there's a supportive community here in Laredo. And that is to be a good citizen. It is to look at the community that you form part of and see that you, as an individual, with your story and with your experiences that you have learned, have the opportunity to do something to better it. Not because it's wrong, not because there's a problem that has to be fixed. There are, but being a good citizen is trying to put your input, trying to get the good out of your community, do something with it, something that you find meaningful, and then come back and bring it back for the next generations.
Amen. Well, in full disclosure, I'm a big fan of the program. Obviously, I've participated in the program. For those that don't know, the program is put together by the one and only Judge Diana Saldana and Judge Diana Song. The two of them were very inspired by the life and career of Judge George P. Kazen, who was, for those of you all that don't know, was this phenomenal jurist. Very rare does a jurist like that come along, and even less so in an outpost like Laredo. And Judge Kazen saw, so many different changes in the law and was really a judge's judge in so many ways. And he helped cultivate this generation of really good judges that we are seeing at the federal courthouse today.
Yes.
And that didn't happen by mistake. It was very curated, and he was very mindful, very much in two things: the mettle of someone's heart and their legal acumen, because one without the other is no good. And his eye for talent brought us these great judges that we have here. And so now getting into difficult places seems to kind of be your forte, right? Because you're in the Stags Academy.
I am.
And they're very selective. They only take how many people a year?
Only 50 people a year. Only 50 spots in the class that you're applying for a year. And it's an academy, so we only have 11th and 12th grade.
And it's at TAMIU?
That's at TAMIU.
And you've got college professors. Those are your teachers.
All of our classes are at TAMIU. We don't belong to any of the LISD or UISD districts anymore. We belong to TAMIU ISD. We're the only school in TAMIU ISD, but it's our own district because we don't go to high school classes anymore.
And as I understand, the Kazen Fellowship Program has its own selection committee.
Yes.
They're looking for people, students, who would otherwise probably never go to law school. And they're hunting for those people who really have something to give back. And so I know that happens to be very competitive. A lot of people apply and only a handful get selected.
Yes, of course. The Kazen Fellowship, according to what was told to us and what I realized later on, their application process is designed to kind of simulate the application process for college, for when you're filling a college application, because they want to prepare individuals, they want to prepare the youth for this competitive environments, this pressure environment in which you have to really put in all your effort, because this was a very competitive program. And yes, like you said, it is open to everyone, but it's directed and I would say maybe designed for people that identify themselves as first generation or low income students like myself.
Yeah,
Yes.
as I understand it, it's not like a written rule, but basically, if any of your parents are lawyers, you basically, you're not going to be getting into the program. Like they want someone who really doesn't have a foot in the legal world.
Yes.
And to me, that's very refreshing, because that opens up the opportunities so much more for everybody else.
Yes.
So then you get into the program, you complete the program.
Yes.
But while you're in the program, they're helping you with resume preparation. They're helping you basically with college entrance applications. And you get into none other than Columbia University. And not only do you get in, but you get in with a full ride.
Yes.
And you were telling me earlier that you were utilizing, I guess, a program to help kind of get your foot in the door. And there were, did you say 70,000 applicants?
30.
I'm sorry, 30,000
Yes.
applicants.
I used it's called like a third party applicant website. I would say it's called Questbridge, and it's a whole different thing from the usual Common App and Applied Texas engines that we use here in Texas usually. And there's like 3 phases. You're selected first as a finalist, and then you are completing your college applications in the span of 2 weeks from when you're selected as a finalist until the deadline. And after that, you have to wait some time, and then they tell you, okay, you did match with a full ride scholarship to this university. They have like 50 options, or maybe you didn't. And that was the process that I went through.
And did you feel like the support you had through the Kazen Fellowship Program was essential in order to be selected and get a scholarship?
I definitely feel that the Kazen Fellowship was a changing moment in my trajectory to college, definitely. I had heard about this program, for example, the scholarship program, I had heard about these amazing schools. I had heard, of course, about Colombia, but I knew that the people that usually got into these schools or that had the opportunity to go to these schools had a different, I guess, life than me. And I really didn't feel confident. I really didn't feel like that was something that I could reach, that I could achieve.
As I understand it, you're from Sabinas?
No, I'm
sorry, from where?
From San Luis Potosí.
I'm sorry, San Luis. I know there was an S in there somewhere. Forgive me.
Yes.
So you're from San Luis Potosí, and you end up in Laredo.
Yes.
How old were you when you first came to Laredo?
I had just turned 16 years old.
Your English is really good. How did you learn English so
Yes.
quickly?
I apologize for any mistakes that I may make right now.
forget it.
Sometimes I
You're
still
great.
get a little twisted with my words, but yes, I had just turned 16 years old when I moved here in Laredo. I moved without my nuclear family. My parents and my brothers, they live in San Luis Potosí still. We're from a little town called San Ciro de Acosta, San Luis Potosí. And I came here to Laredo with the opportunity to live with family that I have here in Laredo because they had offered me a place to stay here and study here. I have always tried to do well in school. There's this description of the Kazen Fellowship online that says that they look for individuals with hunger of knowledge. And I think I identify myself as that. And my family saw that, and I'm very grateful with them that they gave me the opportunity to be here. I learned English listening to music, watching TV with captions on, with the English captions on, and with my little bilingual dictionary there by my side. I went to United High School first, and that served me as practice, and then I transferred to Juliet and Frank's Tax Academy, and definitely the level of the classes also prepared me. But yes, the application for the Kazen Fellowship required me to write essays to answer multiple questions about me, who I want to be in the future, and who I am right now. And so I really put to the test my English abilities also. And, during the program, there's this curriculum designed for us to step out of our comfort zone, definitely. And that is one of the, if not the main thing that I can take away from the fellowship, that I definitely stepped out of my comfort zone in the sense that I remember this day in which we had to go up to a stand and have a little debate, but it was an individual participation. You had to go up and talk, and my team selected me for the opening.
Is this the mock trial?
No, this is one of the activities that we do before in preparation for the mock trial.
Okay.
That is a part of in my opinion, the best part of the curriculum. At the end of the program, we have the mock trial. But before that, we had to do a debate. And I went up and I had what I was going to say. And I don't even remember what I said. I completely blanked out. I was just stuttering and looking at everyone. I wasn't really used to in English and in public, going up and speaking and being confident in myself in doing that.
In a federal courtroom.
In a federal courtroom,
Yeah.
surrounded by federal defense attorneys, federal judges, and experiences like that are included into the curriculum just really prepared me for what was coming up.
And after you had that moment where you froze and you don't remember what you said, did that help you overcome your fear? Like, how did that
Yes.
kind of getting broken down help you to build back up?
Well, it was a day-to-day thing. This Kazen Fellowship, for me, in my class, I was part of the 2024 cohort, which was the second version of the Kazen Fellowship. There was a starting one from which I've heard many amazing things from the team and from everyone. I was part of the 2024 one. And day to day, I was just put in situations in which I had to participate. I had to go up and talk. I had to express my opinions, to answer questions, to put myself out there. And it was in the span of a month. Every day from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 5 p.m., I would be there in the courthouse, just stepping outside and further from my comfort zone, like I said.
So how would you get to and from the courthouse every day?
That was one of the aspects in which I can talk about the support that I got. I didn't have someone that could take me. I don't have a car myself, so I didn't have someone that could take me every day, 8 to 5. Over the summer, my family was busy, and I reached out to the organizing committee of the fellowship before it started. And they told us, if you need transportation, if you need someone to help you with that, we're here for you. I know that the LISD and UISD districts provided transportation for their students. They were amazing. They supported us every day. They would provide breakfast, and some businesses from Laredo would provide also lunch for us every day. But for me, that I was, I think, the only student from TAMI UISD, this amazing woman from the federal courthouse that worked there, Ana Cordova, she would pick me up from my house every day and take me to the federal courthouse. And then Ms. Veronica Caballero would take me from the courthouse to my house. It was just an effort from everyone. They didn't know us. They didn't know exactly our names before it started, but they were willing to do whatever it was in their power to just help us and support us.
And you said your favorite part of the fellowship was what, of the program?
For me, it was really the mock trial. It's something that I'm always going to remember, and that I was both looking forward and scared of during the Kazen Fellowship. We get this curriculum at the beginning about the things that we're going to learn, about the days that we're going to spend either in the federal or the state courthouse, because there was interaction between that. And
so for those that don't know, a mock trial is basically a simulated trial. Everyone's given the same fact pattern.
Yes.
And then I guess there's some of you all that wanted to be prosecutors, and then there's some that wanted to be defense attorneys. And then you have a real judge, right, who's hearing the case. And then you've got a bunch of lawyers who are being jurors probably for the first time in their lives. How
and mentoring us. Yes, definitely. That was one of the parts of the program in which you can genuinely see all of the things that were going on at the same time. We had once a week this class with Jose Angel Moreno, amazing lecturer. He was a lecturer for
very
us. Very distinguished
prosecutor from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes, and for us, we had the privilege to have him as a lecturer on trial advocacy, and that was once a week. And then as we were getting closer to the mock trial, we would get these sessions with either federal prosecutors or defense attorneys that would work with our teams that we had for the trial, and work with our case. And they were there to guide us. They didn't prepare the whole thing that we were going to say or anything like that. They were there to answer questions, to answer concerns, to help us maybe edit something that we didn't know how to put into words in an effective way. And yes, we had so many, prosecutors and defense attorneys. You would choose. I remember that we got a form in which you could select if you wanted to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney, or if you wanted it to be random. And then you would get partnered up with another fellow. And what
did you choose?
I chose to be prosecutor, I remember.
Okay.
Yes, because I thought in my head, after reading the case that we got, that I had a better chance if I was a prosecutor.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting. I find both sides very interesting, but I chose that because I also heard a bunch of people were trying to be defense attorneys, and I don't know, I chose that. I got the role for prosecutor, and the preparation for that was just so exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. We had this packet, like this thick of photographic evidence and a summary of the facts and the police reports, and I believe it's like a real preparation material, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, United States versus Jamie Sachs.
United States versus Jamie Sachs is a bank robbery case.
Yeah. And I remember, because I coached some of the students as well, and I remember reading it and initially thinking, oh my God, this is so one-sided, right?
Yes.
But then when you really sit down and start picking it apart, my analysis changed. I was like, are you kidding? This is full of reasonable doubt. you can
Yes.
definitely engineer this the opposite direction because of all the deficiencies in the investigation.
Yes, that was one of the things that was very emphasized by Mr. Moreno, for example, that he used to say, whoever can win this case, it is not best for prosecution and it is not best for defense. It's depending on how you prepare and how you develop your case and how you stand there and do the job that this is going to come out. I had Mr. Moreno as my judge in my mock trial, and in my case we got a split verdict.
Okay.
So we got, I don't remember exactly.
A hung jury.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. And, you know, it was very exciting. It was so exciting because we had a whole jury. We had our attorneys sit there with us in the tables, just helping us to organize our evidence
Right.
and remember the things that we had to remember. But honestly, the performance was in our hands. And for me, that was one of the most exciting parts of
And
the
in that
competition.
case, it's the lawyer that makes the difference. After doing this for a while now, I can tell you that in almost every case, the lawyer makes the difference. And clients come and look for you because they put all their trust in you because they're thinking you're going to make the difference.
Yes,
And-
it can
and
really
in
go
this
go
case.
both ways. And that is something that I learned. I remember people telling, for example, my team and the defense team that I was against, that this split verdict just showed how well prepared we were on both sides from both of our attorneys, because it was genuinely hard for the jury to choose, to say yes, this side wins, or no, this side wins. And I remember that we got that we were really prepared by the attorneys that volunteered their time, their afternoons, their efforts. They gave us their emails, their phone numbers for any doubts that we had or for any questions or anything like that. It was just a very supportive environment.
I remember as a coach looking around the room at the other coaches and being very humbled by the quality of the lawyers that were there. Those were just some of the best lawyers, not only in Laredo, but South Texas. We have this phenomenal federal public defender's office. We've got seasoned U.S. attorneys and lots of really just capable lawyers in the private bar. To me, I look at it wishing that there would have been something like this when we were growing up, because when we were sophomores and juniors in high school, I just felt like we were dragging our knuckles, you know, compared to you all. I mean, here you are, you're not even out of high school, the academy yet, and you've already got so many things mapped out.
Yes.
And so after the mock trial or after completing the program, do you still want to be a prosecutor?
Well, I knew that I wanted to be in law. I fell in love with the environment in which I was for that whole month in the courthouse, and I knew that I wanted to go to law. If I'm honest with you, I'm not set and saying, okay, I'm going to be a prosecutor or I'm going to be a defense attorney, because I just learned the way in which there's such a variety of things that you can do in law. And I just really fell in love with that and the versatility and the applications that you can give it. And I really feel so interested in that no, I'm not sure that I want to be a prosecutor like right now that I'm set, but I know that I want to do law. And I know that I fell in love with that environment because of the experience that I had in the Kazen Fellowship. My major that I applied with to Columbia was political science. I was leaning more towards a STEM field type of path, but I was really curious about the law, and I feel like this program, it's something that I was genuinely waiting for, something that could give me the exposure that I feel like I lacked coming from a little town in San Luis Potosí. I really had in my mind only like, okay, medicine and law and business, and that's what exists for me, and that's where I have to choose from. And I felt really lost. I felt like I didn't really have any firsthand experience that could tell me this is what I want to do, and this is what I find meaning in. This is what I want to dedicate my life and my effort and my learning to.
But why? Why the law? What is it about the law that attracted you?
Well, when I was there in the environment of the Kazen Fellowship, I think it was, apart from the supportive environment that I felt like was everywhere, not only in the state courthouse, but in the federal courthouse, and that I would see in every attorney and every judge and in everyone, we had this legal writing and reading mock class as part of the curriculum. And I was so intrigued by the content that we go over. I usually prefer in like my classes anything that has to do with analysis, with writing, with reading, with interpreting, and not only reading and writing, but putting into application the concepts and the theories that we learn. Okay. And that side, the academic side of the law and, for example, law school is something that really attracts me. But also, I genuinely feel like the people that I've met, especially throughout the program, that is the most immersive experience that I've had with law, are people that I look up to, are people that earned my respect, and not only mine, but that of the whole cohort. You know, we had an amazing team. We had judges, Judge Diana Saldana, Diana San Quiroga, Judge Selena Mireles, Mr. Moreno. We had the opportunity to meet Mr. Aladmar Hamdani, the U.S. attorney, and ask him questions. We had this amazing team of coordinators. We had an amazing director. We had just so many people that are part of the law environment that I got the opportunity to meet, that inspired me, that supported me, and not only me, but everyone. And that is something that I want to do too.
As I understood it, you were also put in contact with other lawyers that were mentors to help you, prepare your applications for college, help you with your resumes, help you with your essays. You and many other of your members of the cohort also walked away with letters of recommendation that you would have otherwise never had, but for all the FaceTime that you got to. Basically, you spent a big part of your summer with just phenomenal judges and lawyers.
Yes, definitely. One of the main things that we would do there at the courthouse was network. And that was an emphasis that was made like to us, that the importance of the ability to network, to self-advocate, to put yourself out there. For example, we had this ice cream social with attorneys from the Jones Day International firm that were here in Laredo at the time during the summer. We had an ice cream social with them in which we could just ask questions and ask whatever questions that we were curious about. And I had the fortune to meet this attorney. Her name is Micah Doak. From the Jones Day firm, and we talked for so long. And I remember that she asked me at the end of our conversation if I had ever considered to apply to Rice University. And I remember being a little doubtful and being surprised by this question. Like, I knew about, for example, the acceptance rate to Rice, the level of competition that this school represents. And I asked her, isn't this super competitive and super hard to get into? And she told me, but you can do it. Being part of this cohort, I know that the people that are here, have the ability to do things like that. And yes, she offered her support, editing or drafting essays. We had many people like that just offered their mentorship and their experience. And not only the attorneys, but just everyone that formed part of it. Judge Saldana wrote me a letter of recommendation that I submitted to the program and to Columbia University. And I know that she wrote letters of recommendation for other fellows that were also applying to other schools. And she offered her chambers for us to have a space to work on our college applications. One of the people that worked there, the director, just hosted essay workshops for our college applications that many people took advantage of. It was just a community effort, and that was built there in the courthouse by every single one of the persons that would put their time, and just their time, because they're not getting anything out of it more than the satisfaction that they know that they're helping someone that is interested in trying to do something.
So you could have gone to any sort of a STEM program. You could have taken that science and math and technology, engineering route, and you were headed down that path.
Yeah.
But then you pivoted and you were curious about the law. What is it about the law that made you curious? Why even go down that path?
Well, I feel like everywhere, in every setting, in every environment in which you're put, the thing that I perceive that not creates, but just aligns everything and allows everything to work in a certain way with control, with order, with structure, it's at the end of the day the law. My own experience, my life has always been influenced by this trait and this binational, I guess, identity that I identify with. I was born in North Carolina, and then I lived there for 5 years, and then I lived in San Luis Potosí in Mexico until I was 16, and then I came back, and now I live here, and I'm going to school over there. You know, that connection, that international connection, is something that really tells me the whole effort that goes behind that. For me, for example, to have the opportunity to even be here today, to even apply to the schools, to have the opportunity to attend to the schools, to receive a scholarship, and that really interests me. What is it that shapes the society that we live in, and how can I form a part of that? How can I do something and find meaning in that and contribute to that? Because I feel like at the end of the day, I am part of two communities, two beautiful communities that I know that I want to give back to. And the route that I see to do that is through the law.
So we'll put a description and the link for the application so that anyone listening to this podcast can click and apply.
Okay.
What words of encouragement would you tell a fellow student in your position about applying to the program?
Wow. That is a great question. And I feel like definitely being part of this just not defined, but influenced many aspects of my life. I would say to anyone that's interested in doing this, maybe you don't know if you can get where you want. Maybe you don't know if you can do the things that you dream about. You may feel like your story is not the same as other people's. You may feel like you're not enough yourself, or you don't have the resources or even the knowledge yourself. You may feel just alone, just with no power or with no knowledge to do the things that you want to do or that you're even curious about. And the environment that you can live in for a whole month through this program is really just going to change your life. I had many fellows that weren't interested in the law as in becoming attorneys. We had people that want to be doctors. We had people that want to be criminal justice agents. And just being there gives you this community and gives you this confidence in yourself that I feel like is the main takeaway that I take from that. The change that it creates in yourself. Because at the end of the day, the mission of the program is to empower you and to provide you with not only resources and support, but with this trust in yourself, in your identity and who you are and where you come from, and that is valuable. That is valuable.
So you're in this program and you're surrounded by some of the most capable, qualified judges and lawyers in South Texas, in the nation. You've got Judge Saldana, the daughter of farm workers and migrants, right? She ends up going to UT Law. In spite of statistics, South Texas and background, becomes assistant United States attorney, becomes a federal district judge, right? Yes. You've got Judge Diana Saldana, grew up in Argentina and ends up going to Harvard. And not only does she like cross a continent, but she goes to one of the most difficult schools to get into, excels, and then becomes a magistrate judge. Yes. Was there ever this point in time where you're like looking around the room and thinking, hey, if they did it, I can do it too?
Definitely. Something that we were told as a cohort, as a 2024 cohort, was that The year before, they had a little phrase to have as like the mantra or like the description of the cohort as a whole for the 2023 fellows. And they asked what word or what phrase they thought that represented us. And the word that came up was resilience. That was the word that described us, and not only us as a cohort, but I feel like everyone that forms part of the fellowship. Definitely, I was inspired. I was really inspired. I am a daughter of migrants myself. I am someone that grew up in just a different background, and being there just inspired me so much. The trust that was put in me, and the way in which people just supported every one of us and told us that these things that we dream about and these things that we don't think possible are actually possible, because they're testimony of that. It's very inspiring, and and every single one of the people that were there gained their place there and belonged there. The first day of the fellowship, Judge Diana Saldana, she gave us the introduction. She talked about the Honorable Judge George P. Kazen and his legacy. And one of the things that I will always remember that she said is that every single one of us was like a piece and a puzzle, and that was meant to be there because of something. We may not see that today, but I saw it at the graduation. I'm a piece in a puzzle, and everyone that was there, from the coordinators, from the judges, from the director, from the attorneys, and to us, everybody played a huge role in that, in inspiring and just empowering everyone. If you're going into the law, and if you're going into the healthcare, or if you're going into criminal justice path, or if you're just trying to discover yourself and the things that you like, that at the end of the day was what I did. Just put myself out there, put myself outside of my comfort zone, and try to find this place in which I felt like I belonged to, and I did. That is overall the mission of this program that I think that people should look into. And it's just an amazing program. It's amazing. The mission and with which it was built, it is just very noble.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to come and visit with us. I know you had to get a ride here.
Yes.
I appreciate you doing that, especially on technically it's still a school night. I mean, it's only 6:30, but appreciate you coming here and sharing your story.
Of course.
And we wish you awesome luck, and can't wait to hear about the great things you're going to do with your degree from Columbia.
There's still a long way to go, but now I'm confident in that I can do it.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, and thank you for talking about this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Today we're fortunate to have Miss Odette Koss on the program. Good to have you here. So you are a fellow from the Kazen Fellowship Program, the inaugural cohort 2023. What was that experience like for you?
So definitely it was eye-opening. I was so happy to be a part of that program and chosen. I remember filling out my application, and I was sharing this with my teachers and coaches, and I was like writing essays, revising them, trying to put my heart out. And I actually remember one section, and it said, if any of the other questions on this application don't showcase who you are, you're free to put whatever you would like here. And so I remember typing out this. So I come from a family that doesn't have a lot of money, first generation, everything that you can imagine I am a part of or whatever. But I remember writing that, and every year in high school, I always put my heart into everything, right? I work very hard. And I would get letters during the summer about these summer camps for the top kids across the United States that go and would learn at these universities, and educational trips. And the tuition was crazy expensive. I would never be able to afford it. And so it would break my heart seeing this and seeing the cost. But, the Kazen Fellowship was for free. I was getting paid to do it. So I remember writing that I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. I know I never will be, but I am the most hardworking. And that if given the opportunity to be part of the Kazen Fellowship, that I would excel, that I would try my hardest, and that I had prayed to God for an opportunity like this. And I would never, ever, ever waste an opportunity. And I would be so happy to be part of that cohort. And I was chosen, so God was on my side, and very, very happy to be a part of it. It was so eye-opening.
And what was eye-opening? What about the program was so eye-opening for you?
So like I mentioned before, I come from a low-income household. And so my mom and dad, they supported me in my educational journey, but they knew nothing about it. I mean, love them, right? But my mom recently got her GED like a couple years ago, and my dad just graduated high school and went straight to work for no fault of their own, right? They had families to support. They had life got in the way of their educational journeys. So while I had their support, I didn't have any guidance. I mean, other than the internet, of course, but you can only trust strangers on the internet so much. So going to a space like the Kazen Fellowship, where every day I was surrounded with like-minded students and surrounded by people who had educations, who had law degrees, graduate degrees, it was so eye-opening seeing other people who faced hardships like me being successful. And speakers would come in every week. I don't know about every day, but definitely every week. And so it was so inspiring to hear these people who had top positions in government or who were a part of the government and who had like all these credentials who came from situations like mine. And so it was so empowering to hear that. And even Judge's story, Judge Saldana, you know, she's so open about it. And it just gave me so much hope. So much hope that I was with other people who came from similar backgrounds.
Like what about her story was inspirational for you?
Just knowing that, you know, she also came from a low income background, that she came from virtually nothing. And she made something of herself. She's made a family, a successful family. She's made an impact on her community. And I've always wanted that for myself, to make an impact on my community and to uplift others. And she's such a prime example of that, from coming from nothing to making such a huge impact on a community like Laredo.
And so to someone else who might be on the fence about filling out the application and maybe doubting themselves as it relates to entering into the Kazen Fellowship Program, what advice would you give them?
I would say saying no to yourself is the most hurtful thing you can do to yourself. I mean, I've done so many applications and I've gotten so many no's, and it hurts. It hurts to be rejected. It does. But I've also applications where I've gotten yes. And as a result of that, my rising senior summer, I spent traveling all over the country. I went to LA. I went to go visit Dartmouth, an Ivy League college, something I never thought I would ever do. I went on a plane for the first time. I went to UT Austin for a camp. I did so many things this summer because I did the application, because I did the essays. And I was so grateful that I pushed myself through all the tedious parts of an application, like the essay writing and filling out the information and so on and so forth. But it's so worthwhile, the experiences you do and the experiences that the Kazen Fellowship provides you, that writing a couple essays is worth it. And feeling the rejection of a no and facing that fear is so much better when you realize the possibility of getting a yes and experiencing those things.
And do you think you would have had these doors open to you had you not gone through the Kazen Fellowship Program?
Oh, absolutely not. No, not at all. What I mentioned before, the Kazen Fellowship opened my eyes to see that I can do this. I can do this, and so many people have before me. And to build up this mindset that I can't because I'm this, because I'm that, because I have this hardship holding me back is such a travesty, truly such a travesty. Because again, all my predecessors have done this, and I should take stride and learn from them and use the lessons that they are teaching me to achieve so much more and to achieve what they have. I thought that the most and farthest I could go is UT, which is, again, great university. But I'm going to Massachusetts now, and I have all these different prospects that I never thought I would have, or I was even smart enough to achieve.
So you're a senior at LBJ right now.
Yes.
You're going to graduate in a few months. Where have you been admitted to so far?
So a bunch of local colleges here in Texas. Well, local, like, I mean, they're like hours away, right?
Right.
But Texas is local to me. I've been accepted to Williams College, which is the #1 liberal arts college in the United States.
What's it called?
Williams College.
Williams.
And it's out in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts. I've been admitted to Notre Dame. Those are like the big name schools. And I've applied to various other Ivy Leagues. And it was through Questbridge that I did this. But
Questbridge. Yeah. Besides your own, I guess, assessment, has there been any like other data out there that tells you, had I not gone through the Kazen Fellowship Program, these doors wouldn't be open to me? Do you have any information to indicate that's the case?
No, other than personal testaments. I mean, there's only been, I think the third cohort is starting this year.
Yes.
But I'm sure that with time, there will be quantitative data that will show the Kazen Fellowship uplifts its students and that it provides so many opportunities indoors, and they're much more likely than other groups.
You're the second fellow that I interview, and so the data is starting to stack up rather quickly from the past 2 cohorts. That is, in fact, the case. It was a rhetorical question on my part.
Sorry.
But it's okay. It's okay. It looks like that's the case. It looks like this program out of a federal courthouse, and not just any federal courthouse, right? The busiest federal courthouse in the United States, in the city of Laredo, is every summer cranking out a cohort of students who just have this tremendous competitive advantage as it relates to admissions into college and eventually law school. We don't know yet, right? But because that data will need some time to stack up. But good Lord willing, you finish your undergrad, you go to law school. You going to come home? You're going to go see where the world takes you? Like, what's the plan? Where do you visualize yourself being here?
So I definitely do plan to come to Laredo. One thing that, all the helping hands that have pushed me towards these opportunities, open these doors, especially Judge Saldana. But, I have a mentor, and her name is Julie McAvoy. And so they've all just looked at me and asked me to do one thing, and that is to help and uplift others. And what better community to do that than my own, the place that nurtured me, the place that allowed me to become who I am today and who I will become in the future. But I do want a long job in government. So, the ideal place wouldn't be Laredo. But after I have a long career in government, I do plan to come back and help. And even while I'm away, I do plan to come back, during summers or what have you, and uplift my community while I am away and make it my main focus when I come back when I'm older.
Why the law? Like, why not go into some other profession? What attracted you to the law?
So great question. I was someone, growing up, I had so many different aspirations for myself. In third grade, I was the lead role in a play, and I was like, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to go to Juilliard. But, I changed my mind, and then I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and then I wanted to be a conservationist, and then a cosmetologist, and what have you. And then I realized in high school, after I joined things like mock congressional debate and philosophical debate, I realized how important politics is and how it's the basis of everything that happens. I mean, our whole life is dictated by laws, what we can and what we can't do, whether we realize it or not. The Constitution is the basis of everything that we do, that we have. And so I realized that if I want to make change, real change, I need to be a lawmaker, that I need to be involved in government, that I need to educate people about the importance of government, to be in that role, to vote yes or no on life-altering bills. I realized that in high school once I was doing all this research, and that's why I chose the law and to become an attorney. God willing, all of that happens, but that's why.
The application deadline is around the corner. We'll put a link in the description, and hopefully we'll get another great cohort for the 2025 year. This will be the 3rd year that Judge Saldana puts the program on. I really appreciate you showing up to interview. We're hoping that a lot of the business owners and legal community come out to give us a hand. In full disclosure, we're really trying to bring a lot of attention to the program so that we get some public buy-in, because it's that good of a program. It needs to be supported so that we can keep getting students in and getting them out, and with the hope that they come back. I know it's a school night. Thank you very much for making time to be here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Man. That's good. That was perfect.